Well, good morning, everybody. Well, at least it's morning where I'm filming. I wanted to make this video today to answer, try to answer a question that I get really frequently. And it has to do with note-taking. I recently put out a video about, how to make interleaved pages for a Bible so that you can take better, or you can actually put a lot of notes in there if you're someone who likes to do that. But a question that I get very frequently is, how do I write better notes in my Bible? Now, that question is actually really broad and vague in the sense that there's a million ways you could take better notes, right? And, to some extent, there's no right or wrong way to do it, right? If you're doing it a certain way, taking notes a certain way, and it works for you, then it's effective. And so that's not something that I would really worry about. But what I do think is that there are two pieces of advice that I would give somebody, right, if they want to take better notes, okay? And these aren't complex, these aren't crazy, this is very simple, and these are things that work for me. So maybe you'll try them and they don't work for you, right? But in my experience, these are things that I found that have been really beneficial, at least in the long term, okay? And like I said, 2 tips. Tip number 1, when you're writing a note, make sure that the context of your note or the content of your note could be understood by somebody who knows nothing about what you're studying, in the sense that you could give your Bible or your journal to somebody, right, who knows nothing about anything, and they could read your note and read the verse and be able to discern what the note's about. Now, why am I saying this? The reason is because I have written lots of notes in my Bible that I came back to years later, sometimes even months later, or even weeks, and I did not remember at all the point of the note because I wasn't clear in the note on what my point was. So, there's some things that are universal you don't need to make clear, like a word definition, right? But maybe when you write a word definition, say why this was significant to you, okay? Make your notes clear so that when you come back to them, they have a sort of a lasting benefit. Because otherwise, and like I said, from experience, I've returned the notes and been completely baffled as to what my point was. So when you write a note, make it clear. And my rule of thumb is, could I hand this to somebody? And would they be able to read that note and understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about handwriting, like could they read your handwriting? I mean, I'm talking about the content of your note. Is it understandable? Okay? That's my first tip. Number 2, oh weird, I thought I heard something. I'm out here in the woods, you like this? It's kind of funny, behind me I got woods. It's this beautiful morning. And then if I turn around, I've got Mordor on this side because there was some logging, but yeah, sorry. I'll probably edit that out. Nah, I'm gonna leave it in. Okay, tip number 2. Instead of writing, or always writing, definitive statements, instead, write questions. Now, what do I mean by this? There is obviously a time to write a statement about something, right? We talk about the who, what, when, where, why. Who wrote this book? Who did he write it to? Why did he write it? Right? When did he write it? There's certain things like data that you need to write a definitive statement on. But maybe instead of always writing on a certain passage, right, the direct interpretation, this text means this. Maybe write a question. What does this mean? Right? Or write multiple explanations of that passage, because I think that in the long term, those notes, when you're writing a question, it's more beneficial because it'll make you rethink the passage every time. Especially when Paul or whoever in the New Testament or Old Testament, whatever passage it is, especially if they're giving a word of exhortation, right? Live like this, do this, don't do this. Maybe write in that question, say, a question such as, am I doing this? Or today, am I living like this? Right? Because from day to day, I don't always live like that. And it's a good reminder. But the point is that when you write a question, you have to reevaluate. Instead of reading a statement, it's like a study Bible, right? Study Bibles are very good, but a lot of times they can be a downside to study Bibles is that they have a note that gives you an easy answer right then and there. And there's no work that's put in, right? And it makes you not think about the text as much if you're not actually really wrestling with what does this mean? And if there's just a definitive statement, it just gives you an easy answer. Versus if you write a question, it makes you rethink it. Like, what is it talking about? What is he saying? What is his point, right? And so I've found personally that a lot of times just writing a question is far more beneficial to me than writing a statement. Now, again, writing statements is not bad, and I still do it all the time. I'm not saying we need to be all neutral about things, right? So there is a time to do that. But I'm just giving a tip. These are things that I benefited from, and I find that I benefit more from some types of notes than from others. But again, there is no necessarily right or wrong way to do notes. And I mean, as far as note-taking methods, like there's a million different methods. You could do, journals. You could do wide margins. You could do... There's different systems, right? The miscellanies, different things like that, right? So there is no really right or wrong way. But when we're talking about the content of your notes, I would recommend those two things. So in recap, too, right? Number one, make sure that your note is clear so that you can understand it later on down the line without the context as far as the emotions you're feeling in the moment, right? Make sure it's clear. Number two, writing questions, I think, is a lot of times far more beneficial than a definitive statement, okay? Or maybe write them in tandem. Do a definitive statement and a question. Paul says this. Am I doing that, right? Jesus said this. Am I living like that? Moses said this. Am I doing it, right? So those are just two tips. I hope this helped you guys out, and God bless you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.